Our next speaker is Venerable Robina Courtin, who joins us from the USA. Venerable is a Buddhist nun in the Tibetan Buddhist tradition, ordained in the 70s under the teachings of Lama Thupten Yishi and Lama Zopa Rinpoche. And Venerable's talk today is about compassion fatigue, which is something that I'm sure most of us have experienced from time to time. And this session will be quite an interactive session, so please feel free to think of any questions you may have regarding to this topic. It'll be a very, back and forth, very interactive session. So please feel free if you have any, glaring thoughts or any glaring things that you'd want to discuss. We'll be running mics and asking questions throughout this session. So without further ado, please welcome Venerable Robina Courtin for this talk titled Tough Love, Working with Compassion Fatigue.
Well, I'm happy to be here. I'm from the USA, but I'm really a Melbourne girl. So, I'm based there these days, I'm very happy to be here. So thank you for inviting me. I think if we look at kind of Lord Buddha's picture, Lord Buddha's view of the mind, I think often in the modern world, we don't think he's about the mind. We think it's some kind of weird part of us called the soul, but we know very well he's brilliant at the mind, I remember the Dalai Lama often says it were these amazing Indians more than 3,000 years ago. They were the ones who began the... I'm sorry? I beg your pardon? What happened?
They just asked to increase the volume and we said,
What do you want me to do? Nothing. Keep talking. Okay. Dalai Lama often says that these amazing Indians more than 3,000 years ago who were the ones who began the investigation into the nature of self, we arrogant modern people probably think it was Mr. Freud 100 years ago. Very rude of us, But I think also when we realize what these genius Indians invented, they mapped the mind. They've developed this incredible system, this brilliant psychological skill, and it's good to remember it's that, not just some mystical spiritual thing, this incredibly sophisticated skill that enables us to completely subdue the mind beyond the grosser level of conceptuality and the senses to literally plumb the depths of our own being, our own mind, and unpack and unravel it, and then literally they mapped the mind as a result of that, which is, as we know, the basis of Lord Buddha's own system about how to find the self. He diverged in his own direction exactly in relation to that. So then if we want to look into the self, we have to look at what are the components of a self? What are the components of a person? Well, we have a body and a mind. Well, Buddha's expertise is the mind, Of course, in the modern world, we call the mind the brain, but as far as it's good to remember our brain isn't our mind. Our mind isn't even a function of the brain. And we're also not the handiwork of a mother or a father or a creator. Our mind is our own. And so as we know, Lord Buddha gives us these incredible methods of how to sort out this mind of ours and eventually completely rid the mind of all the rubbish in there, all the stuff that causes suffering and its causes, so we can achieve our own nirvana, our own cessation of suffering and its causes. And that job is done by the mind, in the mind. So, until we get there, we've got work to do. So then if we look at the model of the mind, in one way it's deceptively simple. He divides all the contents of our mind into the neurotic, I-based, fear-based, delusional, distressing, afflicted states of mind. We all know them. The root delusion, this misconception of an intrinsic I, which gives rise to attachment to get what that I wants. And then when it doesn't get what it wants, it gives rise to the panic attack of aversion, anger, irritation, upset, annoyed, frustrated, or even depression. So in one sense, you could argue in our day-to-day lives, we're dealing with attachment and aversion. And we go between these two 1,000 times a day, So then we have the positive states of mind, the useful ones, relatively speaking, empathy and compassion and kindness and love. And we know, even though these aren't the words modern psychology uses, they use all these complicated phrases, always in Greek for some reason, I don't know why, all these bipolar, all these words. Lord Buddha hasn't changed in 2,500 years, his view. So the neurotic, deluded, miserable, horrible ones, the voices of ego, they're the ones that cause us suffering, and they're the ones that cause us to harm others. Then you have the virtuous, positive, useful, practical ones, the ones that cause us happiness, even relatively, forget nirvana, and the ones that cause us to help others. So we have to learn. So clearly the job then is to distinguish in our day-to-day life between these two categories of states of mind. And so right now they're like a big soup of emotion. We can't tell the difference. So then, okay, so that's one thing. And now then we talk about love and compassion. We understand, we know that. But actually, and often we become Buddhists because we like the idea of love and compassion. But frankly, that's more advanced, because if we look at this view of the neurotic states of mind and the positive ones, the very first level of Lord Buddha's teaching is pretty evident. It's lessen the attachment, lessen the anger, lessen the jealousy, lessen the neurosis. We've got to first focus on that. So if you've got a tendency to be volatile and angry, you can try to develop love, no problem. Try to develop compassion, yes, but you're limited by the undealt with anger in there. So the first level of job, and even before we look at the mind, the first level is to work on your body and speech, control your behavior, harness your energy of body and speech, control the hand, control the body, control the speech. This is a powerful level of practice. My feeling is if we controlled our speech in one day, you would never have fights with anybody. We mightn't rape and kill too many people, but look at our speech with our family at home. We just vomit out whatever we feel. And then we wonder why we can't concentrate in meditation. So control your body and speech first, then you work on your mind. And then once you've begun to subdue your body, speech, and mind, isn't it? This is Lord Buddha's teachings. Now we can really begin to activate the love and compassion and kindness and be able to benefit others. So this is now to the point. Why do we get free? Why do we have compassion fatigue? Why do we get overwhelmed when we see the suffering in front of us? Why can we not bear the suffering even in our own little dog? Why can't we bear to see the wars and the dramas and the suffering in our families or anywhere? And so that's the thing. Then we get exhausted. We get dragged down. We don't want to look, or we go inside ourselves and avoid it, or we get angry. So then what we tend to think is, well, I can't have too much compassion because I get exhausted and it's overwhelming. Well, you can't. If we look at the way the Buddha looks at the mind, the suffering comes from attachment and anger and jealousy. Lord Buddha does not say you suffer from love and compassion and kindness. And we know that. So then you cannot possibly suffer because of compassion. It's a logical thing. We think, oh, I've got so much compassion, my heart is so open. Or even in our ordinary lives, you're mummy's little helper. You always help daddy, help mummy, help the next door neighbour, and then you wonder why you get trodden on and treated like a doormat. That's not because of being kind. You can't suffer from being kind. We can't suffer from being generous. We can't suffer from being compassionate. They can only cause happiness. So why do we suffer? That's because of attachment and aversion. But it's too hard to see, It's easy to see attachment if you want to eat 7 pieces of cake. But it's very hard to see attachment when you're trying to help everybody and you're this little girl who wants to be mummy's little helper and you don't realise this more subtle attachment, this craving to be seen as a good girl. That's the problem. And that's why you get used as a doormat. You'll say yes to everybody, even though, you're not being wise enough. We don't see our mind enough. We think we're being kind, but you're just trying to be loved, trying to be seen and heard and validated. We all have this. So we've got to learn to develop more awareness of what the hell is going on in here and distinguish between these neuroses and love and compassion, for example, attachment and love alone, just those two, we can see how we completely confuse them, You say you love somebody. That means you want them to be happy. That's a virtue. You can't suffer because of that. So why do you suffer with your boyfriend? Because you're yearning for him to do what you want. You believe he's the cause of your happiness. You believe that he should make you happy. All these expectations, all this manipulation, all this controlling, all this neediness, this emotional hunger, that's attachment. That's not because of love. So we have to see the difference. The words are easy to see. We've got to dig deep inside, that's why we have to meditate. Not just to space out, but to become familiar with our mind and the contents of our mind. Buddhist psychology is incredible. All the literature from centuries, these incredible geniuses and scholars in all the traditions have looked deeply into the mind. We need to be able to study the mind to know the Buddha's view of it, how it functions, what is attachment, what is anger, what is a virtue, what is goodness. There's many, many texts in the literature that we need to become familiar with, which is then the basis of our meditation, to learn to distinguish between attachment and love, compassion and anger, It's not just closing your eyes won't help. There's a little bit more information needs to be there. And then we become very sophisticated at our ability to see our own mind and see the dangers. So, for example, aversion, anger. I'm one of those people that you could never doubt I was angry. I expressed it immediately. My mother didn't have to teach me. I knew how. But some of you people are nice girls and you never raise your voice. And we say, oh, she doesn't have anger. Excuse me. You probably have even more angry thoughts than I might have, but you keep them quiet. You keep them to yourself with a smile, So that's more dangerous because you can't see it. And it's internalized. So then if we look at anger in a more basic way, I think the bare bones state of mind beneath anger, which is more volatile, is sort of like aversion. Attachment is sort of when something happens nice, and attachment goes towards it. Oh, that's delicious. When something arises that isn't what you want, isn't what attachment wants, then we have a panic attack. Go away, aversion. So if you think about that, and you see all these, like I see your animal, so many people kill their dogs, don't we? We say put them down. And these days veterinarians advise us to kill the animal because it's suffering, you know. So we've got to look at what it is about that suffering. We say we're suffering because of compassion. No, what's arising in the mind because of attachment, this hunger for everything to be lovely. Attachment is this little junkie in us, the emotional hunger that only wants everything to be nice. It can't cope with problems. So if you're a quiet person, you have compassion, you see your dog suffering, the compassion is there, but then you have aversion. It can't, you know, your attachment can't stand seeing that suffering, so you want to make it go away. A person like me, you know, if it's like, say, your boyfriend being mean to you, I'd shout and yell. But if you're afraid of shouting, you know, him being mean to you just causes aversion in your mind so strongly, but it goes inside. You can't see it. It goes internally and eventually becomes depression, you know. This stuff goes really deep, you know. So it's not that easy to say anger and attachment. Oh, yes. But aversion is the state of mind, and it is the response when attachment doesn't get the nice things. You mightn't even notice it. So when you see the suffering of the dog, compassion is a virtue. That's fantastic. But that's a courageous attitude. You look it in the eye, you see the suffering, and that compels you to want to help. But if you've got mainly aversion because you can't stand the problem, you rush off to the vet to have the dog killed, you know. Oh, it's because you can't even look at the suffering. You can't even look it in the eye. That's not because of a compassion. That's fear that comes from the neuroses, you know, from attachment and aversion. Got to really see that. So this is why we've tried to help in the world, become political activists, whatever you like. Fantastic. Try to make the world a better place. I remember when I was an old radical lefty before I was a Buddhist, running around trying to bash the world into shape, you know. I remember Martin Luther King. He was amazing. He said, it's good to see fault. Look at the world. Look at the suffering. Look at the injustice. But then you say, what can I do to help? And then you don't give up. That's compassion. Whereas if I would just shout and yell and try to, you know, scream and yell, thinking I was being noble, being angry. I remember the Dalai Lama was asked, one journalist said, well, anger looks like it's a good thing. It makes you do something. He said, I know what you mean, but if you act out of anger or aversion, it doesn't last. But if you act out of compassion, it's, you know, I'm adding this, it's a courageous view. You look it in the eye, you see the problem, but you're not afraid of it. You're not afraid of it. You don't walk away, or you don't deny it, or you don't try to bash it. You look at it and you see, what can I do to help? That's a courageous attitude. So you see your suffering animal. Yes, have compassion. Then you don't suffer because of that. It's because of the aversion. So as you work on your mind, get less and less attached, less and less angry, less and less depressed, you get more courageous, more brave in the face of suffering. And you see, what can I do? And if you can't do anything, then you don't panic, because you understand it's, you know, all the collective karma of all these sentient beings to have suffering. You do what you can, one step at a time. You don't give up. You have courage, you know. Because compassion doesn't make you suffer. It makes you strong. It's your attachment, aversion, and fears that make you suffer. So we have to see the difference, you know. This is not an analysis that Freud or Jung would give us. This is Lord Buddha's analysis, okay, spoken in my Australian words. So now I think I have to ask you, so I have a conversation now, come on. It's only a quarter of an hour I've talked, but they tell me I speak 3 times the pace of everybody else, so it's really 45 minutes, all right? So now you have to ask me some questions.
Venerable, hello. I have a question.
Where's the eye? Oh, there it is.
Hello.
Okay, go.
Thank
Go.
you. What you said struck me, the idea, and I've been told that I can fall into people-pleasing, and I want to be kind, and I
That's
want
right.
to see where I can put
Yes,
others first.
exactly.
How do you see the difference?
There's no way in the universe to ever do that until you close your eyes and start doing some kind of meditation technique to focus your mind and stop and sort of step out of your mind, step out of all the chaos. One of the advantages might not be that you'll get much concentration when you do your mindfulness meditation, but one big advantage is you'll hear all the shouting voices. And as one of our lamas said, like a 19th century one, he said one of the signs of success at the beginning of developing shamatha is that you think your mind's getting worse. No, you're beginning to see it. So we have to be able to hear the crazy thoughts and not be scared of them, because they've all been there, they're all there. We're just so busy looking at the outside world, we don't notice. So you can't tell the difference until you look inside. Does that make sense? It's a lot of work, you know. Don't think it is a lot of work. And we have to, and this is Lord Buddha's view. He divides into negative, neurotic, and virtuous states of mind. And if we remember what nirvana is, then before we get there, what you're doing is you're calming down the neurotic ones. And the natural result is incredible joy. And the bonus is also love and compassion. Just by lessening the neuroses, you become more happy and more virtuous. Do you understand me? So we've got to look inside. There's no shortcut. You can read 27 books about it, but you've got to catch it, especially if you're a quiet, patient person who you know, it's easy to see me, anger in me, it's evident. But quiet people, they can't even see themselves and go, oh, no, he's not angry. No, we all have it. If you're in samsara, honey, you have attachment and aversion. But it's very tricky to see, you know, and we don't like to see it ourselves. But it's very hard to see the difference. And that's our job. Makes sense? Okay, good. What else, people? Yes, sweetheart.
So I just wanted to ask, what about when you're unsure about whether you can do something or not? So, for example, with the situation in Gaza about a year ago, I was getting a lot of messages on LinkedIn from people in Gaza, and you know, obviously the food was incredibly expensive. So I was sending some money. But then there's this tension between, oh, I want my financial security for the future. I don't want to send.
Okay, so the question therefore is how do you know how much to help?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you know, there's like, you've got to have the wisdom to know what you can do. So if you haven't got much money, you give a little bit of money. I mean, even to forget Gaza, just look at the homeless person. You know, you have the wish to help. Then you look at your resources and you give what you can. Surely that's reasonable. So I don't know why. Where's your fear about that? Where's the problem with that? I mean, sweetheart, to put it this way, if you're talking about Gaza, you can't give enough money to solve the problem there. So then your job isn't to solve the problem in Gaza. So look it in the eye, see this garbage nightmare of those poor suffering beings, have compassion and do what you can and buy 1 pound of rice. Good enough, sweetheart. Because even as the aversion in us that can't bear to look, then we get all emotional. What can we can't make it all go away. You do what you can and be happy with that. My feelings. Yes, someone else. Yes.
Hi, everyone. Could you please comment on how we can address the aversion and attachment issue impact on our development? How do we sustain our compassion while we are facing the suffering, especially in the context of aging and end-of-life care? Thank you.
Aging and end-life care, attachment and aversion. So you mean helping your old grandma, for example? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
Just example, yeah. So the aversion would be what there? What would arise in your mind that would be aversion, helping your old grandma? What would arise? What would be the problem in your mind?
I noticed that because I'm getting older, so my window of tolerance has been reduced.
Your window of tolerance.
Yeah, so years ago, I could take a lot.
Hey. Window of tolerance. Surely as you're getting older with a good practice, your window of tolerance would be opening more.
I hope so, but that hasn't been the case.
Well, okay, so let's stop right there. Tolerance is the opposite to patience, right? Would you say tolerance? Or tolerance is patience?
Yes.
So you mean you've got an old grandma to take care of and she's making you crazy?
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Yes. That's the reality, right? To everyone, especially we are facing our aging community. Yes.
I know. Okay, darling. Okay. I mean, this is so nakedly, I mean, it's like you're so brave to admit to this in public, but well done, you did it. I mean, there's a multitude of approaches there, sweetheart. Surely the most basic practice we're trying, as I was saying before, we have to notice our constant need, our emotional hunger, which is another word for attachment, for everything to be nice. So we want grandma to be delicious and happy and smiley and be loving to us and give us things and not be demanding. Well, I mean, if we are really sincerely trying to be even a 1% Buddhist, with enough courage, you need to be happy to do this. That's just one tiny attitude. And then, of course, if you really can't handle your grandmother, I want you to leave her before you kill her, please. So you have to know what you can handle. But meanwhile, have a bit of courage in your own capacity to try and be patient. You know, patient isn't repressing. Patient is looking the problem in the eye. This is just for your sake. And then if you can have some empathy and compassion, and just remember in a few years, that will be you. So, you know, just that alone should be helping you to sort of deal with it. So deal with what you can. Don't go further than you, don't carry a burden that you can't carry. Be realistic. But it is possible for you to become more kind and more loving, isn't it? Don't you think? Or not? Do you think it's possible?
Possible when I practice
Go on.
meditation.
What, sweetheart?
It's possible when I practice meditation. However, such
when
a
you're on your
busy
cushion
life.
and your grandma's not disturbing you. But that's your training. On your cushion is where you're training. So there's both the opportunity to be more patient, the opportunity to be brave in the face of her demands or her bad behavior. And that's because your attachment isn't getting what it wants. So just one step at a time, please. And the point is, remember this, you are the beneficiary of this. You will be the beneficiary. I remember the Dalai Lama always says, if you want to help others, practice compassion. You want to help yourself, practice compassion. So know that even if you're not trying to be too noble, know that you will be the beneficiary of this practice. You will feel better. You will feel better. So don't feel ashamed of that. But just do what you can, darling. And know your mind is not set in stone. Know that you can mold your mind into any shape you like. But, you know, one step at a time, please. But it'll be you very quickly. Old age comes very quickly. Isn't it? Good. What else, people? 3 minutes to go, 4 minutes to go. Yes.
Venerable, thank you so much for that. I really appreciated those
Good.
comments, and thanks for leaving Melbourne to come to the best city in Australia as well. The question about deleting defilements.
About what?
Can I interpret what you said, that your generation of mudita and metta and loving kindness is from deleting the defilements that are controlling it?
I hear you. If we look at the order of practices, surely the first step is we live in precepts, which is to control your body and speech. And why would we, okay, good. Why would we do that? Because we're berserk, we're uncontrolled. So the first thing is, Buddha doesn't say, go and help people in Gaza. He doesn't say, go jump in the deep end and help your crazy grandma. We're not qualified. If you can't even know your own mind, you can't control your mouth. If you want to punch your grandma, you're in serious trouble. Control the servants of your mind first. Calm your physical, discipline your verbal and physical energy first. This is tremendous. Then you can start to meditate and look at your mind. Now you can begin to grow. The degree that you lessen the neuroses is the degree in which your love and compassion will naturally be able to grow. It's logical psychologically, I think, the progress. But you also can say reaching out and being genuinely kind can also be, every now and again we can do that, but a natural consequence of becoming less attached and less angry is more kind and more patient. It's a natural consequence.
So that was my question, is the natural state,
yes,
loving kindness and compassion, and you just need to delete the defilements? And
not just, it's incremental. But if we can see that the two parts of our mind, the ones that make us miserable and cause us to be miserable to others, the self-centered ones, and the ones that are empathetic and related to others, you know, we have to see what we're at and what our own kind of combination is and know what our tendencies are. Are we communicating?
Yeah, no, I do appreciate. So I'm just wondering whether you actually have to do that, delete the negative and then separately build the positive.
It's not possible, is it? If you think of the delusions, the neuroses being the weeds in the garden, and you think of the virtues being the flowers, keep it simple. You don't rid all the weeds first and then grow the flowers. You do a little bit at a time. But even if you didn't actively grow the flowers, just pulling out some of the weeds gives more space. From the little seeds that are down there, the rose seeds, they can now have breath to pop up and, wow, surprise, look at that little rose popping up. So they've got this kind of dynamic relationship.
Okay,
it's one step at a time, I think. It's much more organic than that, you know. Do you see? Yes, people, one more question before we finish. No? Yes, over you. Yes, sweetheart. Oh, okay, go. Yes, you go. Go. Yep.
Hi, thank you so much for your
Okay.
speech and your work. I just wondered if you could speak about your feelings around psychotherapy, using that with your practice to
I understand,
help
darling.
you to weed.
I
Because
understand.
I had a lot of weeds.
I understand, darling. I think Buddha's approach is actually very sophisticated. Keep the mic. Just keep it. I think it's talking to. I think Buddha's talking to very well organized, good people. We're all neurotic in our lives, so we got to take whatever tools we can, you know. So I would suggest this: if anything you do can help you work with yourself and lessen your neuroses and grow your goodness, honey child, do it. That's my suggestion.
Thank you very much. I have.
Okay.
I just was
Go for it.
interested in your.
Oh, no, I
approach.
mean, there's anything you can do to help yourself. Whatever you can do to help you develop yourself. How amazing.
Thank you.
Time to go. No? But it's, okay, one more minute.
We've got
go.
2 more minutes.
Okay, good, go. Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you
Okay.
for your practice.
Good
Thank you for
job.
being here today. I just had a question in regards to what we can do with the comparing mind, in the
who?
sense, the comparing mind.
You mean judging other people?
No,
Finding
judging
fault.
myself.
Oh,
I find
okay.
I have a lot of comparison for my practice and how it's been fruitful in the past, and how that integrates attachment. How can I engage with the comparing mind more so, and
So,
to further deepen my
say it,
practice?
sorry, say it in a different way. I can't get the
Okay.
question. What's the question?
The question is, how can I engage with the comparing mind that I'm having?
Engage in the, I don't use those words. You stop criticizing yourself is what you're asking me. How do I stop criticizing myself?
It's more so my practice has been a certain way in the past, and now it's
Well, you're
a certain
criticizing
way
yourself.
now.
Yeah, how you could.
Yes.
How to stop criticizing yourself?
Yes.
Good, thank you. Well, it's anger, except you're the object, isn't it? I did this and I did that and I'm a bad person. We've got to be more reasonable. So, you know, the tendency of ego is kind of to exaggerate everything, isn't it? You know, so it's you did this and you did that and you're a bad person. So we exaggerate. Anger exaggerates. So the irony of ego is we love to exaggerate our own badness. It's just the way it is. So just have to catch your mind. And if you're being realistic, you are being lazy, then fix it. And if you're exaggerating and you're not as bad as you thought, then it's okay. We have to be reasonable in assessing ourselves. Try to be reasonable. Try to be reasonable. And my feeling is, no, your practice is not worse. No, you're seeing your garbage dump mind better now. So please rejoice.
Thank you. That's why I connected to your answer before,
Yeah, exactly.
that you gave to this gentleman here. Thank you.
That's it. Is it done? So I'll sing a little prayer in Tibetan, about 15 seconds. And it's basically just making the aspiration that compassion grow and grow in the hearts of all, okay? Changchub semcho grin poche, ma kie panam ke gyuchig, kie pa nyam pa me pa yang, gong ne gong du pa ba sho. Okay. Keep moving. Never give up.